on C-SPAN 2.
People who helped form the first.
Today, former President Bill Clinton and former U.S. Senator Bob Dole announced the formation of a scholarship fund to aid families of victims of the terrorist attacks of September 11th. They spoke at Georgetown University here in Washington. This event runs about half an hour.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Andy McKelvey, CEO of TMP Worldwide, and far more importantly, a native New Yorker. I was born in New York, bred in New York. It's the world's greatest city. And I'd like to start by thanking everybody in America for the unbelievable outpouring of everything. I understand there's more dog food in the Javits Center than all the dogs in the United States can use. It's just phenomenal, and we thank you very much. Really the purpose of this is a friend of mine in a small company about a week ago called me up and said, we've raised $1 million for the children that were affected by the terrorist attack. Where do we send the money so that they can be sure and go to college? And I said, well, the future of America is obviously in the children, but I have no idea. So we looked around and we asked, and we found other people were asking the same question. We've raised money, we're going to raise money, where do we send it? So we thought about it, and we found out that there's an organization called Families of Freedom Scholarship Fund. And they've already raised $3 to $5 million, and are going to raise a lot more with millions and millions promised. So we said, what we need is to consolidate this. What we need is a united effort. So we came here to Washington, asked some people that we knew, and asked whether former President Clinton, Senator Dole, would in fact be willing to chair this foundation. And they both agreed. And gentlemen, I'd like to thank you very much. Also, in the spirit of bipartnership, I voted for both of you.
I hope not at the same time.
Simultaneously.
You're the residents in Chicago, yeah.
So, with both of these gentlemen agreeing to chair the foundation, we thought we would accomplish two things. Number one, we would accomplish credibility. Now everybody knows throughout America where to send a check to the Families of Freedom Scholarship Fund. And also, because they are known to several people throughout the United States, this was an excellent opportunity to help gather additional momentum as far as fundraising. So that is in essence why I'm here. The foundation, as far as the infrastructure is concerned, is going to be handled by an organization that's been in existence for a great number of years called the Citizens Scholarsh.Found.of America. And this is headed up with Bill Nelsen, and I'd now like to turn this over to Bill. Bill, thank you very much for all of your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. In response to the devastating effects on families who became victims of the recent terrorist attacks, Citizens Scholarsh.Found.of America, the nation's largest private sector scholarship organization, has launched the Families of Freedom Scholarship Fund. This fund will provide financial assistance for post-secondary education for children and spouses of those who were killed or permanently disabled as a result of the September 11 attacks and the follow-up rescue operations. We're grateful to the Lumina Foundation of Indianapolis for kicking off this fund with a $3 million original commitment, to Andy and TMP Worldwide for their commitment of $1 million to assist with the marketing and communications efforts, to companies like Levi Strauss and NEC and PeopleSoft who have already made major commitments to the fund, to the American Council on Education that is mobilizing the higher education community through what they call the September 11 College Fund, which will become a part of the Families of Freedom efforts, and to Harvard University, which kicked off that effort with an announcement yesterday of a $1 million grant, to the Points of Light Foundation and USA Weekend for designating Make a Difference Day this October 27th as another fundraising effort to assist with this effort, to America's Promise and all that they're doing to back this particular effort. To the CEOs of Oni Systems and Brocade out in the Silicon Valley, who have pledged to help raise an additional $50 million among high-tech companies throughout this country. And to all the grassroots efforts that are already springing up around the nation to assist with this important effort, the Families of Freedom Scholarship Fund. A note about fiscal integrity. CSFA, already ranked as one of the nation's most efficient nonprofits, has pledged that 100% of the monies donated to this fund will go directly to the students. And finally, I emphasize that we are the Citizens Scholarship.Found.of America. And to help mobilize the citizens of this nation in support of this particular cause, I'm delighted that we have the endorsement and the leadership of two great statesmen, former Senate Majority Leader Bob Dole and former President of the United States, Bill Clinton. Thank you very much.
I'm still following you.
Yeah. Well, obviously, it's an honor for me and for President Clinton to participate, and I see all these bright young people around the room, and that's really what we have in mind for the children of the victims, to give them an opportunity to, if they want to go to college or if they want to go to a trade school, junior college, whatever. And also, I think we understand this covers children of all the victims. They may come from Great Britain, maybe from Mexico, but all the countries will be included, and I think that's a big, big plus, Bill. And we want to thank Mr. McKelvey for your leadership, and I would just say it seems to me this can be a living memorial, and they will understand as they grow older, the young people, the children, that America continues to care. I mean, we care long after the TV's gone and long after we move on to the next event. But by this effort, these young people who may be infants, 1, 2, 3, 4 years old, 10, 15, 20 years from now will understand that somebody in America cared enough to make a contribution, to make it possible for them to pursue their dreams. And that's really what this is all about. And I thank President Clinton for joining in this effort. And together, again, there's not any politics or partisanship in an effort like this. We're both Americans, we both love our country, and we would like to do something in a positive way. And I think the Families Freedom Scholarship Fund is a step in the right direction. Thank you.
Well, first of all, Andy, I want to thank you for your generosity and your energy and the determination with which you pursued this. And Bill, thank you for agreeing to run this fund and helping us raise some of this early money. And I want to thank my friend Bob Dole. It's evidence of how totally unpolitical this is. I hope somebody noted that he was standing on my left today. I just want to echo a couple of things that Senator Dole said. First, let me say, as the spouse of New York's junior senator and a citizen of that great state, how profoundly grateful I am for the breathtaking generosity of the American people and indeed people throughout the world who have made pledges to help the victims, the families, the people who have been dispossessed in human and material ways by this awful tragedy. It has been truly breathtaking. But I suspect the cost will be far greater than anyone had anticipated, so that even though it appears that a great deal of money has been committed for people who have lost all their income, for people who are disabled, for people who've lost their homes. It's not, a lot of people haven't really stopped to think about that. They're where they were living, and there are a lot of costs that are only just now appearing. And one of the problems with even a tragedy of this breathtaking magnitude is that as it fades and we return to normal life, and we all know that someday, sooner or later, that will happen, the long-term needs can be forgotten. And there is no more important long-term need than to see that the children who were affected by this tragedy, when they come of age, whether it's this year or 18 years from now, will have the opportunity to have an education. When we were looking at this, we discovered that there is a provision under New York law for the children of the public servants who were killed to get tuition to state institutions in New York, but even that will be nowhere near enough to cover the cost of their education. And for all the others who are the children of private citizens or the spouses of private citizens, there is no existing program. So this is something that the American people can do, both our corporations and individuals, that will really have a profound long-term effect on the young people's lives and will have an immediate and enormous psychological effect on families that are feeling bereft. I have stood in those lines at the crisis center and talked to the victims' families. Some of the people who will benefit from this are even not yet born, because the young women who lost their husbands are pregnant now. And so this is a gift that will be giving for quite a long while. And our work will probably not be completed for slightly over 20 years. But people who give today can know that, as has been said, there will be no administrative costs. The money will be safely invested. And the rest of us can know that insofar as we humanly can, we have tried to help a lot of deserving people get beyond the difficult days that they face today. Thank you very much.
We'll take a couple questions for the President, Senator Dole, and we'll go off to the...
You want to say something else?
No, I was ready for questions. And,
You may have to answer all the technical questions.
Yeah, right. I'm prepared to answer any questions having to do with the fund itself and its long-term life.
Yoshida from GOTV News. What would you specifically expect on that generation who will be possible leaders and rebuilders of the nation?
Well, all I can do, I'll make you a prediction. I predict that there will be at least a dozen children of victims of this crisis that within 25 years will have made major contributions to the public life of America because they lost their fathers, their mothers in this terrible event. I think that all you have to do is look around. You see how united we are. We all support the president. We all support our country's efforts. We all are absolutely open-eyed about the difficulties that lie ahead. And the terrorist attack has had exactly the opposite effect that was intended. We are more united across racial and religious lines. There's more outspoken effort from the president on down, something I particularly appreciate, against discrimination against Muslim Americans or Arab Americans, or people who wear turbans like Sikhs who don't have anything to do with this but have been subject to some discrimination. There's greater unity here and the greater love for and belief in our country. You see, there's a survey yesterday that said that belief that the government will do the right thing most of the time is at the highest level since 1966, which was at the end of the Civil Rights Movement and the passage of the Voting Rights Act. So I believe one of the things, if we take care of these young people and give them an education and let them know they're not forgotten, I'll bet you at least a dozen of them will make notable, marked, high visibility contributions to America and to the world within the next 20, 25 years. And we will look back and see the searing experience of losing a parent and being embraced by America and our values will have had a major impact on the decisions they made throughout life. That's what I believe will happen now. You'll be around 25 years from now, and I probably won't be, but you ought to check in and see if it turns out to be right.
I think It's reminiscent in a way for those of us who were veterans of World War II, didn't have any money, and they came along with what they call the GI Bill of Rights. And thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of us who otherwise would have had no opportunity to go to college or trade school, whatever, had an opportunity. And again, this is in a much, it's not as vast as that program was, but the President's right. I mean, these are going to be outstanding young men and women, and hopefully whoever makes a contribution will keep that in mind and just keep on giving till it hurts. And in this case, I don't think it'll hurt.
Take one more for the President, Senator Dole.
Today and tomorrow there will be demonstrations in Washington against war and for a peace effort. What is your opinion about them? Do you have anything to say to the people who are demonstrating today and tomorrow?
Yeah, I would like to I'll make just 3 brief points, and no one else has asked me about this, so Number one, this is America. Yeah, and I'd just like to ask those people to remember that they're welcome to say whatever they want to say. No one will put them in jail. No one will beat them. I certainly hope no citizen will act wrongly against them. If they lived in Afghanistan, or if the future of the world of the Middle East was what Mr. bin Laden wants it to be, they would not be able to speak their mind. They would not be able to have an unconventional view. And if they were women, they'd have to be demonstrating with a burqa over their head, and if they opened their mouths, they'd be beaten. I don't know if you've been seeing the films that many of the networks have been shown excerpts from behind the veil. So I just ask them to remember that they can say whatever they want to say and do whatever they want to do, because this is America. And the people who did this to America would not permit them the same right. Second thing I'd like to say is, I agree that we should not intentionally bring violence to innocent civilians, even in Afghanistan, but it's obvious that the President and the National Security team are trying to avoid that. I think I can speak for all Americans in saying that I have been very impressed by the fact that they have told us the truth, that these were difficult decisions. The tactical decisions are difficult. And they didn't go off and try to get vengeance and carelessly cause a lot of lives from people who can't help the fact that they're trapped in Afghanistan. So America has not shown a great deal of bloodlust here. Even in New York, where I've been going to the schools, where the people you would expect to be the angriest, and because they've lost the most, they're very thoughtful about what we should do now. And I think that the peace demonstrators should be reassured by that, our leaders, I think, are approaching this in a very measured way. And the final thing I would like to say is these decisions are hard enough. And I think insofar as we can, we should continue to be a unified nation, because I promise you the violence will not stop if we walk away from it. Peace requires 2 sides. Just like a fight requires 2 sides, peace requires 2 sides too. And so I think most Americans will continue to be united behind the President and the direction we're taking. And I think that, America has acted like anything but a warmonger in this. We're just trying to do the right thing long term against a very serious threat, not just to Americans, but to what we think about human nature and truth and how people should live.
Mr. President.
You want to say
Sorry,
anything?
Mr. Dole, Senator Dole.
No, I don't disagree with anything President Clinton said. I think there has been a demonstration of prudence and patience, and we have no desire to harm or kill or otherwise cause any problems for innocent victims anywhere. And I think that's always been the American thinking, those who have this tremendous responsibility. Collateral damage will probably happen. Some of it you can't avoid, but it's certainly, and I agree with President Clinton and also President Bush, because I understand there were some urging an immediate response. Do it now. Make you feel good. But that was declined, fortunately, and I think now we're on a proper path. And I would also say, when we're talking about people in need, don't forget the Afghan people. I mean, millions are already fleeing for the border. They don't represent or reflect the views of the Taliban or bin Laden. They're human beings with children who probably haven't had a meal in a week. And so the United Nations is stepping forward in that effort. Our own government authorized, I think, $25 million yesterday, which is not nearly enough, but it's a start. There are going to be a lot of innocent people involved in this process that we're going to have to reach out to. And America's always there. We're always there, generally first, generally with the most, because we have the capacity and the resources.
Thank you very much. We gotta go to the PSA.
Okay.
The gentleman take over here.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. I'll be prepared to handle any questions that you have about the fund itself and its operation, its life, and anything that might be helpful to you as you follow up on this important story. Yes?
Actually, I think Senator Dole more or less said it, but is it going to be open also to children of foreigners that were in the... Yeah.
She was asking the question, is it going to be open to the children of foreigners? As you know, the last I heard about potentially people from about 80 different countries. Where I was at a meeting in New York yesterday called by the mayor and by the president of the Carnegie Corporation, Barton Gregorian, to coordinate all these efforts out there. This was the one major effort, as you see, in the scholarship and educational arena. So we're trying, obviously, then to begin to get an official roster of all of those that were affected. But the answer is yes. Any child or a spouse, because you may have spouses who need to go back to school as a result of this tragic event. So any child or spouse of any person who's killed or permanently disabled as a result of those tragic attacks and the follow-up rescue efforts will be eligible. Yes?
As far as donations are concerned, is there a minimum donation you're requesting?
She asked, is there a minimum donation we're requesting? And the answer to that is no. And in fact, it's not just these larger gifts that are going to be coming in. This is a nationwide effort among citizens throughout the whole country. And we already know of some exciting real grassroots events that are occurring out there. A group in a radio station in Philadelphia is having a special fundraiser. A group out in Los Angeles is putting on some rock concerts out there that people can donate to. Last Saturday at the University of North Carolina Florida State football game, they had the kids, the students, had a special fundraiser and raised a lot of money that goes to this Families of Freedom Fund. So that's beginning to happen around the country as well. And I mentioned on Make a Difference Day, the last Saturday in October, there'll be a nationwide fundraiser. So people can send in $1 or $10 or several $1,000s. It all will be handled well. And we've promised at Citizens Scholarship Foundation of America to acknowledge every gift that is given for this particular fund. Other questions?
Yeah, we'll take individual questions from reporters at this point. In other words, we're
yes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, just a quick one. Your press release says this was for financially needy applicants. How do you determine need, and does this mean middle-class families would not be eligible to get some of this fund?
Did you all hear the question? Financial need, yes, financial need will be taken into account, and he says, does this mean middle-class families won't be eligible? And the answer is no, many middle-class families would be eligible. That's certainly the case now under financial aid. I'm a former college president, so I know about how financial aid packages are put together. Citizens Scholarship Foundation of America has dealt with this for many, many years, and a high percentage of the programs we manage now take financial aid into account. So we will assess at the time that a student is looking to go off to college or university or vocational school, wherever it is, what that family's situation is. And need, as you know, is simply determined by basically what the family has in terms of resources versus the cost of the college or university or vocational school where they're going. And you begin to apply the need formulas to that, and we have the capacity to do that as we do every day. And then based on the total funds available, then we get the money back to the students and to the colleges or universities or vocational schools, wherever they're attending.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much. If you have any individual questions, fine. We appreciate it.
Oh, fantastic.